Now, it's the month of December, and growing up, December means different things for different people. For the majority of Nigerians, it's a time of merriment, festivity. Some people use this time to go back to their villages, their hometowns. It's a time of celebration, giving to the poor. And for those who follow the Christian faith, it's a time to celebrate the birth of Jesus Christ. And weather-wise, things get cool and dusty with harmattan. Now, the reality today is that prices of food are at an all-time high due to rising inflation. It has also affected transportation costs. And a lot of people are thinking, is it worth going back home? And for those that do want to go back home, they have security challenges to think about. Now, when it comes to the weather, maybe it's climate change, but it's still very hot in Lagos, and you'll still see some showers of rain in December. What is happening? Nigerians are asking, where is this renewed hope? Now, to discuss several stories from the past week, including the December period, I'm joined by Okenna Nnebedum, an attorney. Welcome to Robin Minds.
Thanks for having me.
Next to him is a public analyst in the person of Adetoun Adebogun.
Thank you for having me.
Welcome. And joining us virtually, we have the founder, Policy Shapers, Ebenezer Wikina. Hello, Ebenezer. Welcome to Robin Minds. Ebenezer, can you hear me? Okay, we'll come back to you. Now, I'd like to start the conversation by asking, how's this December for you, and what are your plans in light of the economic realities? I'll start with you, Okenna.
Okay, the month of December, like I said, is the last month using the calendar we use, and some people also look at it as a charity month. They look at it as the month of giving, and for the Christian faith, they look at it as the commemoration of the birth of Jesus Christ. And it comes with a lot of excitement, giving, like I said, and also traveling. Some people leave the cities and go to the hinterlands to reunite with their loved ones.
So, Okenna, are you going to be doing any of this? And I know that the price of rice is debatable, but it's almost at 50,000 naira. So how does that impact the merriment, the giving, the sharing of alms? How is that affecting you?
Definitely, for example, typically I would say for our group in church, we bought some last week. The party is ongoing in church as I left this evening. And we couldn't buy the number of bags we wanted to because we planned with 50,000, but it increased much more than that. And then the money has to be, allocated to something else. You don't just have to eat the rice alone. There are other condiments that go with it. And for other people who are going to travel, there's these speculations that price for making travels are going to increase. The queues are coming back to the petrol stations. And we are witnessing also the scarcity of the naira. Those who patronize those POS people, they have also recognized that the cost of withdrawals has also increased. People spend more time in the ATMs and without seeing cash.
Okay.
So a lot of the challenges are just coming up, and people are, I don't know, I don't want to say, I don't want to make a personal observation, but the general air out there is, where is the hope?
Where is the hope?
Let alone
what
the
about you,
one.
Adetoun?
Well, I'll take a few points from what he said, but I would actually emphasize more on survival during this time. Of course, you know that the season, as you mentioned, comes with a lot of giving. And I think you are not just thinking about yourself or your family. Now you want to extend that love to other families. But how do you cope? How do you survive, even as a family, as an individual, with what you have? And because the purchasing power has really gone up, especially with the fuel issue we are dealing with the high prices of food items in the market and all that. But I feel that this is actually supposed to be a season where we should have excess, we should have abundance to share with other people. But we are not seeing that. And that also shows you that even the environment. I was walking around, I think last week, and I noticed that, usually around October, you have Christmas songs here and there. You even feel the celebration mood. But I found out that it has not been like that. Very, very tense situation. In fact, if you are walking and you are not very careful, you might step on someone and, you know, the anger will just come out. And you'll be wondering what is actually going on. And just as you mentioned, where is the hope?
Where
you know,
is the
how
hope?
do we survive from this time, even before we get to the crossover of 2024?
Okay. I'll now move to Ebenezer Wikina. Can you hear me, Ebenezer? Ebenezer? Okay, we'll come back to Ebenezer. Now, some critics are saying that it is too early to start judging the president, to start judging this administration. It's barely 7 months. They need more time. Do you agree with this? Do you believe that 7 months is too early to start seeing this renewed hope? I'll start with you, Okinna.
No, if we do a dash, it's just 100 meters dash. Someone would have won a gold medal. So 6 months is way too much even. From day one, if it doesn't matter, this president wouldn't have, like he said, he exercised courage. Subsidy is gone without considering the consequences. And we faced the consequences starting from the Eagle Square. Some of my friends who traveled to Abuja for on the mandate we must stand. Some of them traveled on chartered vehicles, chartered buses, but they couldn't come back on the same chartered. Some of them couldn't even have their allowances, the second tranche paid, and all those. So you see, consequences kept on coming from time to time. And even up to yesterday, we had one of the political figures who celebrated his 61st birthday yesterday. You can imagine the waste. You can imagine the fanfare. You can imagine the gargantuan budget that would have gone into such spending. And you ask yourself, when Nigerians are entering into poverty day after day, minute after minute, and you can show that level of ostentatious show of wealth, what are we talking about? People who should ordinarily live by example cut the cost of governance, but they are now showing it brazenly to Nigerians. And as they will say, where is the breath? Where will the poor breathe? They are suffocating us with their presence. They are suffocating us with their convoy. They are suffocating. You can imagine the cost of fuel in those kind of convoy.
So you're expecting that this leadership should start from the top.
Example.
Adetone, do you believe that this government has shown prudence, that this government has shown that they stand with the people and they understand some of these consequences of floating the naira, removing subsidy, and going through these tough times while we're waiting for the proverbial light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, I think in terms of that, I will rate it, let's say, 40-30%. And I say that because if you look at the trend of things happening, I feel that we are sacrificing for this nation, and it includes everybody. So whether you are a representative of a particular constituency, you are a local government chairman, you are an individual or a citizen of this country, or I hope there, you have a responsibility to sacrifice or make sacrifices for this country. So it's not limited to those in those positions as individuals, as a citizen. Now, looking at the time frame for any administration, I think 100 days is even too much. But we are saying miracles do not happen just like that, even though we hope for it. But now, the issue is, how do our political office holders, appointed or elected, how do they set examples in their lifestyle, in the course of administration in government? Are they willing to make those sacrifices? I think we had, these social media, tussle here and there, which has to do with when they mentioned that they wanted to get new cars. And people were wondering, this is the time where fuel subsidy has been removed. We're not even supposed to have that on the table in the first place. It shouldn't even come in as any part of their discussion. The focus should be, how do people survive? You have taken the baton from an administration that's not really done well. It is expected. There are a lot of expectations that this administration should do better or even do more. Now, when you now see a lot of exuberance, you see wastage, appropriation of funds to particular places. I am always particular about those in the rural areas. We're even talking about urban areas now. Let's go back to the rural areas. You will see what people are going through. in terms of the scarcity of currency that we had, and even the food prices. Even those in the farms, they are not really comfortable.
So there's a lot of pressure in the air.
Absolutely.
A lot of pressure. I want us to move the conversation. You know, earlier on I said this time people want to go to their villages, their hometown, go and reunite with family, but we're looking at increased cost of transportation as a result of the removal of subsidy. And for some, it's just a security issue. They're afraid of kidnappers. And this takes me to what we read in the news about the Kaduna bombing, and the defense chief is begging that was a mistake. So does it mean that if I'm at the right place at the wrong time, I could end up a casualty? Is an apology enough? Yes, we want the security issues to be addressed, but at this point, should we even have such casualties? And what are the legal implications of this? I would like to hear from you, Okenna.
Legal implications? First, everywhere in football, they will call it an own goal. And some people can refer to it also as, they call it friendly fire, or in their military language, fratricide. It's a fratricidal incident. I expect that the court martials would, do what they're supposed to do. But before waiting for them, a group of lawyers have taken the army to court. The army was also had news that the Air Force warned the army against the incident. And you would want to ask yourself, Kaduna again. Kaduna of all places. Do you know how many military formations that are in Kaduna? Or defense apparatus that are in Kaduna? In fact, Kaduna is the most militarized city in Nigeria.
So why is such a mistake happening?
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know. The vice president himself said it. That some politically exposed persons are very, very sympathetic to the terrorists. But I think if he can say that, then he knows more. And if he knows more, then he should take responsibility. Part of why it is so, and you are still the vice president, and you don't know what to do. Except the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, you are the next in command. And if you know that much, why tell us?
So if the management of information.
What do we do with it?
Yes, and what next? Nigerians are asking, okay, there's an apology.
Are you excusing yourself? Blood after blood in Kaduna. We have left Benue, the food basket. You are talking about food scarcity and stuff. If people don't go to farm, where do you harvest? You don't see anything to harvest, and that is what is happening to us right now.
And then with the food importation, the dollar keeps rising.
Exactly.
So where will you even find the dollars to be able to import food? Now, I'd like you to weigh in on that. And also, we're looking at the conversation on still spending on the economy and going after people. Like the EFCC has come out to say they will go after those keeping looted funds abroad. This administration in 7 months, by their body language and their actions, have they shown that they are ready to really prosecute corruption and financial crimes?
I don't see that. If you look at in recent past, we've had issues of embezzlement to some extent, and then we've had 1 or 2 cases like that. I've not actually seen anyone come out to say, oh, this person has actually been persecuted for these crimes. And you know the kind of polity we operate in Nigeria, it's always so funny to me. When in other crimes, we're supposed to at least look at what they do and pick out. But in Nigeria, a thief is just walking around and nobody's doing anything. In fact, he or she will be appointed or elected into positions to say, to come and govern. And so it's really pathetic that we run such a polity in Nigeria where we're talking about wastage. We're talking about people who are actually depriving some people of benefiting from the dividend of democracy. Now, what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to show them that there are laws in this country. It's not just written in black and white. We have the constitution that follows that if you are, allegedly found wanting in a particular area, you should pay for it. Face the consequences of that. But we don't see that. And everyone is still crying foul of, oh, there's no money in Nigeria. As a Nigerian, at some point, you will be disappointed yourself that, oh, with all the resources we have, what are we making use of these resources for? The only thing you hear is in other countries, they will tell you, oh, Nigerians, they have money. Because we see the appointed officers, we see the elected ones, we see their politicians. They come to our country and they live large. But when you hear about Nigeria, oh, we want to borrow so amount of money for this project, those projects are not even readily available. We don't see them. Infrastructural development here and there is not visible. What is the result of it? We've allowed corruption to eat deep into the society. And it seems even our politicians, when they get there, the first thing they think about is their pockets. They are not necessarily concerned about the people or the livelihood of Nigerians. So I think if we have to see things changing, let's redo the course of governance. Our politicians, let them show examples. We get some money from some particular people who have embezzled it. Let's appropriate those money in places where it will benefit the lives of the citizens. But we are not seeing that. And that's why even those in the rural areas, you know, they see a lot of things in the urban areas and they are wondering, why is development not coming to us?
Where is that renewed hope? I'd like now to weigh in on that, because I know sometimes they'll say that the legal process takes time. We need to be patient. This is not military. This is not the military regime where you can just go after people and administer justice. Are we not seeing things move fast because of this, or is it because of the willpower to prosecute that is missing?
There is something about the judiciary people don't understand. The judiciary on itself cannot institute an action. The judiciary acts on cases brought to it by people who should do so, who are licensed attorneys, you know, go to court. And then licensed attorneys by themselves also cannot bring some of those actions except one whose right has been threatened or has been infringed on, or who feels that there is something against which he is pursuing in court that he has to go for, because they call it ubi jus ubi remedium. Where there is right, where there is a wrong, there is a remedy. Again, apart from individuals, there are institutions established by government. Let us talk about the EFCC. Let us talk about the ICPC and the rest of them. There are revelations. You know, they will always get us awashed every morning with front page news. I said to myself, if I were a journalist, in the midst of every scarcity in this country, there's never scarcity of front page news. Because the news will keep breaking one after the other before you can fly one. And then another one happens, so you now begin to choose which one do you now fly first. So what flies in Nigeria every day is either corruption, bombing, or road accident.
And how will you rate this government's response to the corruption issue?
To the corruption issue, they've not even started. You know why? I tell you something, corruption is not necessarily the embezzlement of funds. Corruption starts from the kind of people you appoint to offices. We were saying that the previous leader under the APC spent 8 years trying to, you know, colorize the Nigerian civil service or even governance in Nigeria to a particular tribe. Little had he left office, then we started seeing this present regime, the present president, behaving as though Lagos has relocated to Abuja. And it looks as though the appointees of the president presently.
What doesn't the federal charter address that?
Federal character.
Federal character.
Which federal character? Which federal character? When you see, it looks as though that those are the boys who have been waiting for opportunity. There's always a cliche that goes on in Nigeria that says those who are waiting to loot are greater in number than those who are looting at the moment. And they wouldn't want the looting to stop. For example, if you belong to a particular position...
Sorry, we'll have to bring the conversation to an end. Thank you very much, Adetoun Adebogo, for your contributions. And also, in Nebedum, thank you for your contributions.